Hey, my name is Eric McCoy, and I am high while clean. As a Southern California resident, I've had a lot of friends who were either from this area or came from around the world to find that dream of fame and fortune in the entertainment industry. For many, it was that image of a perfect life that's seen on your television screens. Is it what it really appears to be? I've worked with many individuals over the years that were from that world, whether they be actors, actresses, or musicians. And it taught me a lot of things. And most importantly, the ones I worked with were suffering and told me stories that didn't fit with that view of what we see. Once TMZ or news catches wind of substance abuse or mental illness, their pain is shared with the world, and not in a light of a person who is hurting and needs help. These are real people that are cast aside many times as losers or weak. They're no different than me, with that exception. My pain and suffering remained quiet with a personal journey, so in a lot of ways it was easier to deal with. Now, my guest today, Jeremy Dunn, or better known to the world as Jeremy Jackson, lived that life. He'd starred in dozens of ad campaigns, 7 episodes on the soap opera Santa Barbara, and a small role in Shout that was starring John Travolta. With hard work and determination, he accomplished all of this before his 10th birthday. In 1990, he landed the role of Hobie on Baywatch, where the world saw this boy grow up, and it ran for almost 10 years. During his successful acting career, Jeremy got into the music industry, and he released 2 full-length albums that took him on a European tour. In 1996, he was inducted into the Young Hollywood Hall of Fame. Jeremy, I appreciate you coming on the show.
And Eric, thanks for having me so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, man. The beard's looking sharp.
Yeah, thank you, man. Hey, we recently lost Alex Trebek from Jeopardy. And so as a tribute to him, welcome to Jeopardy.
Thank you.
Beats out Leonardo DiCaprio in a popular TV show in 1990. Is that a true story?
That's a true story, man. Growing up in the entertainment industry, seeing Leonardo at auditions was a common thing, about the same age. And, guys like Andrew Keegan, Will Horniff, a lot of kid actors, some who grew up to be very successful, some, who just had really strong runs as child actors. But, there was definitely the front runners at all the auditions, whether it be for a Mattel commercial or a movie or a TV show. We were the 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds that were getting all the gigs, So I think it was just down neck and neck to Leonardo DiCaprio and myself.
Now, you hit stardom as a child, and people like Corey Feldman, Todd Bridges, Macaulay Culkin, that all fell victim to substance abuse, and you experienced similar issues. And what is it within that industry that sends these young people down that path within that industry?
Well, I'm a firm believer that I was born with the addiction gene. As far back as I can remember, I craved to find something outside of me that would make me feel a part of or fit in. I remember life far before acting, far before fame, being confusing and painful. And, I remember thinking that quite possibly all of the stuff that I'm told not to do, I'm told that's dangerous, that's naughty, bad, or wrong, must be the things that would hold the secrets to me feeling part of, feeling like it seemed everybody else on the outside felt. From my interior perspective, people getting along in life and doing daily crap as if it had a purpose. And I didn't feel like anything really had a purpose. So, I can't, and I don't blame it on the entertainment industry. However, a common theme that you see with these kids or these entertainers, or whether it be musicians or child actors, is fatherless. That's one thing a lot of us have in common. And, I tell people that, approval and people pleasing was pretty much my first drug, so as a fatherless kid, getting accolades and getting, high fives and handshakes from adults for a job well done, whether it be a song, a dance, a comedy skit, that gave me that rush. That gave me a little kick of dopamine that made me feel like maybe I was loved, maybe I could be part of, and maybe this stuff was starting to make sense. So you take that desire to please and have approval, to find love, to be part of this, world, and fit in. And then you couple that with some success, some ego, and some cash. And I think you got basically a recipe for disaster. A lot of times it comes with, for me specifically, there was what they call presumed spouse syndrome, where, all of a sudden you're the breadwinner, you're making more money in your household than anybody else. You're the one that's relied on, counted on, needed, and then you got some power to wield, and, if lack of power is my dilemma as an addict, then all of a sudden having a bunch is a drug like no other, and I think you find that even with pro athletes, those heights of performance, those cheering crowds, that, that sense of importance that you experience. I mean, it's one thing to do it as an adult. That's why you see a lot of pro athletes go downhill, or even military, high profile military guys that go and they live that chaos, high intensity lifestyle. And then they come home to doldrums and, mundanity. And it's like, whoa, I better recreate this shitstorm with some booze or with some pills. But, having that in your formative years, and then where do you go from there? Like, how do I feel like a rock star in a normal situation? I'm not signing autographs. I'm not, turning down $100,000 checks. Like, where's my rush? Where's my sense of importance? Where's my power? I can get that power, find that power temporarily in a drink or a drug.
Now, you grew up without a father, and how impactful was like David Hasselhoff as a male figure to you?
Well, David is a bigger than life personality. He's incredibly smart and incredibly charismatic. And he wielded that power. He was the frickin' Knight Rider. I mean, this guy's got body makeup artists and people bringing him his lunch, and he's getting free cars from Audi, and, he's getting flown all over the world. And, he was wonderful. He was, a major demonstration of what it looks like to be the man, but is that a realistic, demonstration? Is that a realistic goal? Is that something that's really achievable to have day in, day out? I mean, for the Hoff, it is, and he's been able to sustain that and recreate that and rebuild that. But for me in my formative years, to achieve that level of awesomeness, is pretty gnarly. And, of course he, loved me, and he did sit me down a few times and check on me. And we're still close to this day. He was just at my 40th birthday party. And it was real sweet. He came and, really, really was the life of the party and all that. But I tell people that he was really more like a big brother to me. He was a big star. He had all the girls clamoring for him. He was in his early 30s. He didn't want to be a father figure. He wasn't ready to pump the brakes and say, hey, wait a minute, here's this hyperactive fatherless kid that really needs somebody to shoot straight. He had other things to worry about. So, it was a good and bad, I guess you could say.
You and I have had a lot of conversations in the past, and I've always felt that it could be a lonely life for people in this industry. And, as an actor, you play a role of someone that isn't necessarily you.
Right.
So when people meet you, they realize that this isn't the person who I was ultimately expecting, and possibly disappointed with who they are meeting. How accurate is that idea?
It's incredibly accurate. Before the cameras were rolling here, you mentioned that, through your research and our experience together, that you were, impressed with my humility. And I think my humility and or my really wanting to level myself down as much as possible, and potentially, just instead of bringing myself up, focus on bringing other people up, is based on exactly that. So yes, people have an expectation, and coming up, we're talking elementary school, from being the kid on all the cereal commercials and the Mervins and fucking Hot Wheels and whatever it was. There's this expectation, and I just had a desire to be seen for myself. And then you get into the high school years, which are even more gnarly. Everybody's a jerk in high school and a big shot and all that stuff. So, I spent most of my time off screen working twice as hard to just be the least version of me as I could, so that people would just see me, because they are expecting somebody. They're expecting you to be a jerk. First off, that's off the rip. They're just expecting you to be an egotistical a-hole and think you're cooler than them. So you can't almost say anything without them wondering, oh, is he saying that? For a long time, I dealt with people thinking, oh yeah, but you're an actor, you're a really good liar, so I can't trust you. Or, did he say that because, he's got more money than me? Or is he acting like that because it's a really strange paradigm to have to navigate through, to just self-deprecate basically enough to where people are like, oh, he's just a guy trying to be a guy. He's just a dude trying to be, just exist. So that's really where the humility comes from, is an undying desire to just be a worker amongst workers, really.
As I did say that before we did kind of come on here, that I have worked with a lot of people, again, over the years from that industry, whether they be, again, actors or musicians and stuff like that. And I knew a little bit about you when we had met. But I did appreciate so much that we didn't talk about that stuff, and we did have real conversations. And that's where I did really feel that you were that genuine person with that humility. And that made it very enjoyable.
Thank you, man.
And I, as I was kind of thinking about all that stuff, that that concept means to me, as I had said before, that, friends in that aspect are probably a lot more of acquaintances and are pretending to like you for your image or possibly what they feel that they get from you.
Yeah.
And so I had asked you before this, and so the media, and especially TMZ, shows the worst of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to show you a clip of one of their shows, which was at the time that you went on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew.
Okay.
And our good friend, Bob Forrest.
Yeah.
And to me, you
got to have him on the show next.
Yeah, I did have him actually.
Nice.
It was a while ago. When
He's always fun.
Yeah, I love Bob. But this video to me was comical because it was really evident that they twist information, strictly for ratings. And obviously that means they lie.
Yeah.
So
hyper truth. It's called hyper truth.
Absolutely. So take a look at this.
Okay.
Former Baywatch star Jeremy Jackson has just checked into Celebrity Rehab, where he hopes to conquer his dangerous addiction.
And guess what he's addicted to?
What?
Fitness.
Yes! Jeremy Jackson is addicted to fitness, and it's had a shocking effect on his body. Good God, look at him! He's all toned and ripped with the muscles and the abs and the, What were we talking about again?
The pictures are unbelievable. Looks like a sculpture of a man's body.
Okay, sure, he looks amazing, but addiction is addiction, even if it makes you look awesome.
He's so addicted to being ripped and cut and in shape that he's taking so many vitamins and chemicals like human growth hormone, testosterone, B12. He's injecting it all.
Can't you get, dead from that?
Not exactly a clinical definition, but yes, you can get dead from that, so stay out of this place.
Dime? What a game.
It is bad because, if you, it's one thing to, feel like you need to go every day, but then it's another thing that you need to keep going back all day long.
Are you concerned? What time are you in the gym every morning?
Don't listen to her, boss. You look great. But it's true, fitness can be an addiction. On the plus side, it's an addiction that 99% of America doesn't seem to suffer from. We're looking at you, Wisconsin.
Jeremy looks like, he's about to pop out of his own skin. It's getting to a bad point.
So he then sees a problem, or he wants to be on TV.
Well, either way, we wish you luck, Jeremy. We hope you beat your sexy, sexy addiction. But, hang on to those abs, Kay. He is one attractive man. What's that? Oh, this is still on? Crap.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So what do you think about that?
So this is one of those particular situations where instead of fighting it, I went with it. So I had been clean and sober for probably around 8 years at that time. And possibly 10. And every year, Celebrity Rehab would contact my manager and they would say, "Hey, is Jeremy still sober?" And he would call me, "Hey, it's $100,000. Hey, it's $50,000." The offer changed all the time based on their necessity for somebody. And my manager at the time, not knowing anything about the recovery and the severity of our particular disease, he was like, "Dude, why don't you it's $100,000. Why don't you just drink a beer and go check in?" Wow. And I was like, dude, I was turning down $100,000 beer year after year. So on the third year, I was like, all right, listen, I'm taking, testosterone from a doctor. I'm taking HGH. And I can make it look pretty scary. I'm doing these B12 shots. It's a huge syringe in my ass, and, he's like, "I don't think they're going to go for it." I said, "Just send them to my house with a camera and I'll scare them, So they come over and I'm like, oh, flexing, oh, feels so good. Oh, really hamming it up.
They sent who over?
The Celebrity Rehab sent a camera crew to my house to do a potential intake video, you know, and the producers were going to watch this video and see if they thought it was shock value enough to qualify as something that it was a disease or dangerous or needed to be addressed. Right. So I really hammed it up, and I went and I did that photo shoot beforehand. Like, and I fed them all this stuff. I gave them the bait and they took it. And, you know, when I watched that, I'm like, oh, this is compared to other crap. This is great. They're saying I look good. They're saying I'm sexy. I'm a sculpture. I'll take that stuff all day long. That one, you know, that particular time worked out in my favor. And really, the God's honest truth is when you see most of this stuff, it's called hyper reality, and they're called setups. You know, you see most of these celebrities when they're walking out of Gucci or in the breakup or whatever. It used to be where, you know, the cameras would really bombard these people and stalk them. And there's still situations where people are going through true life travesties, and these photographers have to get real greasy and grimy and play dirty. But I'd say 95% of the time, there's an agreement between the celebrity and the photographer on what they're going to say, how they're going to look, where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing. And they'll set up all kinds of stuff, from rescuing a kitten from a tree to, you know, getting in an argument or coming out of a store with, you know, $50,000 in merchandise, and the store is giving them that stuff. So they'll come out with that stuff and it'll get on TV. You know, that's the way TMZ and the whole tabloid industry works these days. You know, but there's other situations that, like, you know, stuff that's going on with my ex-wife and stuff that's a little bit different, but that was that particular situation. So I feel victorious in that one. Like, I got the upper hand. I am an addict. I always have room to grow. I have, you know, I have the ability to turn anything positive into my slave driver, you know, whether it's fitness, whether it's love, money, you know, vitamins. Yeah, I've been owned by vitamins. Like, I can't have a good day because I forgot to take my vitamins. Like, my psyche is and can be that delicate. If I have spiritual unrest, when my waters are not still and able to reflect heaven clearly, as they say.
Now, you did have a problem with steroids.
I got out. I did. You know, per the usual, you know, I went to a doctor and I got on prescription testosterone for low testosterone function, and, you know, it was all good. But yeah, then I did do extra, and I did do stuff that wasn't prescribed, and I did take exorbitant amounts of stuff to achieve this goal, and it did block me off from the sunlight of the spirit, as they say. It did end up owning me to where, you know, my whole goal was originally to move back to LA after some success in the nightlife industry. Like I said, I had been sober for years, and I was going to go and be the next Stallone. I hadn't acted in a long time on purpose. I bowed out gracefully and worked on me. And I got to a point where I thought I could handle certain things and I could take certain risks. And I saw it as a, you know, you got to bet big to win big. You know, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to get so ripped and retarded that that people aren't going to be able to ignore it. They're going to be like, put this guy in a movie. Look at him. You know, he's got 10 years in front of a camera plus. And now look at him. He's a man. He's not a kid anymore. I was really trying to break a stereotype and get out of that beach boy surfer thing into like a military, you know, badass grown up. And unfortunately, like we talked about, it did end up owning me to the point where I'd be getting audition calls. I'd be getting, appointments I was supposed to go to. And I was dieting too strict. I didn't have the energy. I didn't feel good. I took too much of this. Now I got to stay home. I'm sweating profusely from whatever I'm injecting. I can't show up today. And so, it ended up kicking my ass for sure.
Now, throughout the years, you've had a few different situations where you've been accused of stabbings. And one is with your ex-wife.
Well, she didn't say stabbing. She said choking. Yeah, that I choked her.
Okay. And then you had two other situations. I know one of them was dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was the situation there? What did...
Well, the one that was dropped was the only real one. Actually, no, it wasn't. So the one that was dropped was an attempted armed robbery where this guy had a gun and he was falsely imprisoning me. And he stole my car. And he was stealing my money and my drugs. And at the time I was pretty, it was shortly after my separation, which drove me into a massive downward spiral. I got really blindsided with some super unfortunate, heartbreaking, betrayal. I was just lost and I gave up on life, so to speak. I felt like I had followed the rules and done really good. When the rug got pulled out from me, essentially, I said, all bets are off. I'm going for broke. I'm going to sell drugs. I'm going to be as bad as I can be. Hollywood white boy, out doing dirt with the dirtiest of the dirty. And there was multiple times where I was robbed, nasty fights, held at gunpoint, attempted kidnappings, all this kind of crazy stuff. And this particular situation, I decided to fight back and protect myself. And I had a knife. And after about 2 hours of this guy who was injecting methamphetamines and in full flight from reality, who was a known gang member, far bigger than me, far scarier than me, I bided my time and I waited for the opportunity. And he pulled the gun on me one more time, put it in my face, and I fought back. And I won that exchange, and he went off running. And I was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. I went to jail. I had to bail out. I had a case hanging over my head, and I lost, I must have lost 30 grand in that situation. Everything that was in my apartment at the time was gone, stolen, taken into evidence, bail. It was just a nightmare. I was playing with fire and I got burnt. Regardless, when I went back to court some months later, the DA threw it out. They found the gun at the scene. The guy was wanted for a shooting a year previous and had been on the run. He was a known gang member. So that one got dropped. And shortly after that, I was borrowing a friend's car. My car had gotten stolen by that guy, right? Lost my money. And I was borrowing a friend's car, and some other drug addict known criminals with nasty records. And these were my people. Lower companionship is what we gravitate towards when we're feeling our worst. We just want to be around people that are as bad or worse than us, so we don't have to look at ourselves. These people stole the car that I was borrowing, and I was like, you know what? My stuff's already gone, stolen, ruined. I'm not going to drag somebody else into this because of my bad mistakes. So I went after these people to get this car back. I found them, and I tried to plead with them and say, I know how it is. I know what it is to just have to survive, to get by. Whatever you did to trade the car for some drugs or whatever crap's going on, like, let's just get it back. And these people said that they were going to do it. You know, I had a little bit of money in my pocket. I bought them some food. I was in the car. There was a guy, a girl, and they brought another friend into the situation, this other guy. And after literally a day and a half of wild goose chases, over promising, under delivering, it was late at night, and we were in a very dark, strange part of a desolate area. And the two guys started conspiring outside of the car. And he left the keys, and this was their car. This was a different car. And he left the keys in the ignition, and I started getting really spooked. It was going to get ugly. I got out of the car and I tried to talk to them. And they waved me off, like, go back in the car. Hold on. We're talking about something. And I was just like, man, this isn't good. This is going to get bad. So I jumped in the driver's seat of the car that they were driving, that they had stolen. And I started the car. I pulled out a pocket knife, and I pulled it out to the girl that was in the passenger seat. And I said, get out of the car right now. Get out of the car. I had to leave the doors unlocked, because if I lock the door, she's locked in there with me, right? And if I keep the doors unlocked, I got 20 seconds until these guys run up on the car and drag me out. So I'm screaming at her to get out of the car. She doesn't get out of the car. Instead of getting out of the car, she puts her back against the passenger seat and starts kicking me with both feet in the face. You know, back poised, bang, bang, bang. And I have a knife in my hand. And I've trained boxing, martial arts, jiu-jitsu, self-defense for many years. And only skeletal strength will beat muscular strength. So 2 legs against 1 arm, even though it's a smaller female, 2 legs are going to win. And I clearly remember having to choose between injuring myself, putting myself in jeopardy, or keeping my elbow locked and my wrist straight as she's kicking me and trying to jump over on top of me. Meanwhile, I'm just staring in the side view mirror, waiting till the very last second to take off. You know, I wasn't even looking at her. You know, if I would have protected her from the knife, then I would have endangered her body weight coming on me, her legs kicking my arm this way. I just had to keep it rigid. It was dark. I don't know if she even knew what was happening, that she was getting cut by kicking the knife, kicking my arm, kicking my face, by jumping on top of me. So I took off, and she started screaming. So I said, I'm going to stop the car and you're going to get out, right? You're going to get out. She said, yes. I slammed on the brakes. She jumped out of the car. I took off, and the car ran out of gas. Now, these guys are in a car chasing me. Their other friend had a car that was just a couple car lengths behind us. So I'm trying to get away and protect myself, and the car runs out of gas. So I coast into a gas station with the engine completely off. And I run inside the gas station, and I tell the gas station attendant to call the police. I have blood all over me. And the police come, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you other than my life is in danger and I need help. You know, I don't want to be a narc. I don't want to be a snitch. I'm not trying to name names. I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Like, these were bad. I'm with bad people doing bad things. And, you know, I just need help. My life's in danger right now. And the cop said, well, unless you can give us, are willing to give us an official report, we can't do anything. And they left me at the gas station, bloody, scared. And I called an Uber. I called my mom, actually. And my mom got me an Uber from the gas station phone. And I just went home to Orange County. Like a month later, I get picked up by the Orange County Police Department on a assault with a deadly weapon. And, this girl said that none of that other stuff happened. And I just had a grudge against her and stabbed her for no reason because I didn't like her. I fought the case for a year and a half. That's when we were working together. When I was over at SCAC, I had an ankle monitor on. I was looking at 7 years in prison. I was scared, crapless. I managed to do what I needed to do, become a registered alcohol drug technician. I got certified in breathwork meditation, certified in personal training, went through the CPR thing with you guys. And, I accumulated some letters from people in the recovery community. And, the judge, saw fit to give me 1 year in county jail. So I did 1 year in county jail, and the price was paid for that, and got some probation. And, hopefully that's the last time I ever have to be in life or death, hideous circumstances like that, And it was really, that wheel was all set in motion from the separation from my ex-wife. I just stopped caring. And when you stop caring, you're around other people who stop caring. You don't care about the quality of your life. You're around other people who don't care about the quality of their life. And you just open Pandora's box for all types of darkness to come against you, man. It was the worst times of my life, for sure.
Yeah. Now your ex-wife was, my understanding, reappeared on your 40th birthday, from my understanding.
Somewhat. There's been some trickling happening on the internet.
And I know she disappeared for 2 years and wasn't seen. Nobody knew where she was. And then all of a sudden she does reappear, and now she is homeless. Living in Venice.
Yeah, Venice. And I have some friends that try to keep tabs on her for me. That she's often off Melrose up in Hollywood as well. I think maybe like summertime, maybe down in Venice, and winters more towards Hollywood. But, what I didn't realize while we were married, she was a porn star and a stripper. And, I fell in love with her when I was 21 and she was 20. And, I was sober, that was, I first got sober when I was 20, all the way into, actually when we separated, and, I always just had the biggest crush on her and had special feelings for her, but I had a hard time wrapping my head around kind of wifing up a practicing stripper, I knew her story, and she had been abused and she had been neglected. Her parents and her ex-boyfriend was a meth addict that, didn't love her and was addicted to porn. And, she got into porn to try to please him. And, when you know someone's backstory like that, you have nothing but forgiveness. Like, oh, I understand. Like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like, I get it. I see that path, to be not loved by your parents and to be neglected by your parents and to be passed around, like trash, and have a crazy mom. And, gosh, people gave up on you, and I don't want to ever give up on you. And, we dated for some time. She was a major lush and I was sober, and it just didn't work out in our early years, but we stayed friends for 4 or 5 years, and we lost touch for a few years, about 4 years. And when she resurfaced, funny enough, right when I was going into celebrity rehab, I had a ton of money in the bank, and, I looked great. I felt great. And she was in nursing school, and she was trying to phase out of stripping. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, how cool is it that we lost touch? We both worked on ourselves, and like, I've always been in love with you. You look better than ever. And like, the one thing that was keeping us from being apart is changing. So we started dating, and I took it really slow, man. I was really cautious that time of my life. I was very regimented and specific in my goals. I had very clear vision of what I wanted in life and where I wanted to go and what I was doing. And, so we dated for about 6 months. We started living together for like 6 months, and it was about a year in or more. I proposed. We got engaged. We were engaged for a year. And, right about the time we got married, we were married for 2 years. I had put her through school to become an esthetician. So she was getting her esthetician's license because the nursing program was too stressful for her. From what she said, she had a few breakdowns, a few anxiety attacks, a few breakdowns, and she wasn't able to. She didn't have the mental capacity and the emotional capacity to get through this nursing program. It was just too much. But we decided to go with the esthetician route. We built a spa in our house for her. We had a beautiful home and a beautiful dog and 2 cars. And I was training celebrities and C-suite executives, making money hand over fist, and life seemed to be pretty good. But she was having these flare-ups where she would call me from work crying and saying that she could hear the other nurses in the other room talking bad about her, and people don't like her. And, for me being like the supportive husband, I thought, she's used to like stripper girls, she's used to that mentality of having people talk bad, that vindictive girl stuff. I had no inkling that it might have been more, and then there was some, we got into some couples counseling. There were some bigger flare-ups where she would withhold love for weeks at a time. And it would take like a trip to Maui or something extra romantic, where she would kind of come to terms and say, yeah, well, you were singing that song in the shower, and I just thought you wanted to leave me. And I'm like, what? I thought you were like telling me that you didn't love me anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just like singing in the shower. I was just a song. It had nothing to do with my feelings for you. It was just like, when you get a song stuck in your head, it would take a lot of work to reconvene and find our groove again. Stuff like this started happening a lot, where she would have a visualization in the office. She worked for a plastic surgeon that she was going to stab somebody with the instruments, and she would come home shaking. And I was like, oh, this is just anxiety. This is just big girl pants. This is the first time she's ever been a big girl and had responsibility. And she doesn't feel like she's good enough. She doesn't feel like she's smart enough. She doesn't feel like she deserves this, but I believe she does. In that time, I coached her. I coached her diet. I made her food. I sent her off to work with lunches, and, she became a 9-time bikini fitness competitor. I got her on the cover of magazines. I really wanted to make her be a queen and feel like a queen and own the magic that I saw in her. And I really just lost touch with myself, man. It just she became my drug. She became my God. I worshiped the ground she walked on, and my every waking moment was trying to keep her head above water and to encourage her. So I completely lost myself. I was completely blind. And I started breaking down. I started, having conversations with my mom. It was wearing on me, like, oh my gosh, like, what if this isn't going to work, regardless, her paranoia or paranoid delusions, whatever those were, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't diagnose them, got really bad. She would show up to the gym. I'd be training a male client, and she'd show up dead sure that I was cheating on her with another girl. And it became really constant. And eventually she just was convinced, and she put tape over her phone and was recording an argument we were having where I lost my temper and I threw a beer through the TV. And she just started screaming, you're hurting me, you're hurting me. And I was just bewildered, like, what? Like, what are you even talking about? You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Everything's fine. What are you doing? Screaming to the tops of her lungs, stop it. You're hurting me. And it was just like watching a scene from a movie. It was the most surreal out of body experience I've ever had. It was so confusing and strange. You know, I left the house and the cops came from her screaming, and she said that I broke her rib. She said that I tried to kill her. Meanwhile, she had attacked me, headbutted me, made her own nose bleed, ripped 30 grand cash from my arms that I was trying to get out of the house with. I left the house with just shorts and keys, no shoes, no t-shirt. She wouldn't let me leave with my wallet, nothing. And then all of a sudden I hear that the cops are looking for me for attempted murder and these claims that she had made. And it just scared the holy crap out of me. And I at that time, I identified with the offender. I had battered spouse syndrome from all the crap, from all the codependency, from all the fixing and the broken bird, broken wing stuff. I was convinced it was my fault and I had let her down. I had ruined us somehow. And that's really what sent me into the biggest downward spiral ever. Now I got an amazing attorney that was a former DA, that was had been a detective, was a former DA, and was now a defense attorney. And he read the report, he talked to me, and he looked me square in the eyes, and I've never believed anybody more in that moment than I believed what he said. And he said, Jeremy, I've been doing this for 30 years. If you ever talk to that woman again, you will end up in prison. Just if you do not have any contact with her, this is going to go away. And I literally went into hiding, and I couldn't call the woman I loved. I was aching, just broken, aching. All I wanted to do was talk to her. And, she started rubbing stuff in my face. She was hanging out with G-Eazy. She was on Dan Bilzerian's yacht. She was bragging about having sex with Chris Brown, like all this stuff, and started dating these other fitness guys, like right away. Like it was just crushing. And I couldn't even, call her. Regardless, a year later, something like that, I see on her Instagram or her Facebook, somebody sends me a screenshot of her Facebook that, she tried to kill herself. She tried to OD. Then I heard she had like 30 days in recovery. Flash forward like another year. It's like 2 years since I've had any contact with her, and people are calling me and saying, Jeremy, you need to help her. I'm like, I need to help her just because I managed to put my life back together barely doesn't mean I can do anything for her. Like, and they're like, oh, you're heartless. You don't understand. She's drinking every day. She shaves her head. And I still had no idea. I still had no idea that what we had gone through together was any type of mental breakdown on her part. She was the boss as far as I was concerned. She was the head honcho. What she said went. I had given her all of me, and she was the leader. So I still thought it was my fault. I still thought I was this broken guy trying to put it back together. Then all of a sudden I see these pictures of her dead, homeless, pushing a shopping cart, filthy, and it hit me. Oh my gosh. She was slipping from reality that whole time. Then all these people want me to help her. They're blaming it on me. I'm getting messages. It's all my fault. I ruined her life. Why don't you help her? If you ever loved her, you would help her. I'm like, oh my gosh, I loved her more than anybody I've ever loved in my life. I did everything. I gave her everything. I can't do anything now.
If you were to tell her something, what would that be? If you had one thing that you would want to get out to her, what would that be?
I mean, there really is help. There really is a solution, even though she doesn't know it, see it, has yet to experience it. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, there is hope. There is a solution. And all she has to do is surrender to the process and give herself over to mental care and get stabilized. And, you know, I could help at an arm's distance. You know, I could help from behind the scenes. I know doctors, right? We can get her brain scanned. We can get her on the right medication, and we can get her to be a functioning person in society again. It's not impossible. And I wouldn't want anybody to, even though she says she's happy, and to everybody leave her alone and she has new friends and this is her new life and nobody loves her. You know, I know that it's a miserable existence. I've been there. I've tried to live that way. And I know that it's miserable, you know, and she doesn't deserve to be miserable. Nobody does, regardless of what she did to me. It wasn't her. It was a mental disease.
The main reason I wanted to have you on here is, number one, obviously I wanted to show people that you're a real person, that you're not those characters, and that you are just like all of us. You have fears, you have sadness, you know, you have pain, and you have all of those things that come with most of us that obviously have been through this substance abuse problem in our life. And that was one of the reasons. Second reason is, how do you get high today? High while clean. How do you get high today?
Self-forgetting, man. The less I can think of myself, the higher I feel. The more I can plug into others and being used by a higher power for a higher purpose, that's when I feel my highest.
That's beautiful, man. It really is.
Thank you, bro.
I mean, that's why, that's the way a lot of us feel, obviously in this industry, that when we're able to get out there and we're able to help people, be that, have that altruistic nature of putting our hands out, and then seeing people succeed, is obviously the big part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you're still really heavy into the fitness stuff. I know the last time I saw you, you were putting a lot of programs together where you were taking a lot of the people from recovery, taking them out to the beach. Mm-hmm. You had these crazy exercise scenarios.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure a little of that stuff has changed because of COVID, but what does that look like for you today and in the future?
Yeah, well, I got back into boxing about 4 months ago. It's a real challenge with like dyslexia and ADD. The sequencing of boxing, the choreography of boxing. It's a real challenge. It hasn't been fun. It hasn't been something that comes naturally to me. So I like doing stuff that I'm not great at, taking on new challenges. I've gotten back into jiu-jitsu recently. And I'm having a lot of fun right now with just fun routine. So I've been getting up at 5 a.m. every day, and I go to jiu-jitsu with a sober buddy of mine who's a champion MMA fighter, a young guy. And that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I usually jump in this group fitness class. It's pumping music. It's kind of girly stuff, but we have fun, so not taking fitness too seriously and turning it more into a dance. There's a rhythm, rather than trying to achieve a result, just finding that rhythm and that fun flow of just moving, not moving with a determined goal or outcome, but just to move and to have fun with other people. And then occasionally, we go out to Laguna Beach right there on Main Beach, and we get a group of guys that come out and we just do a fun workout. And It's interesting to see people come up and they ask how much it is or where, what's the program. And we're like, it's free, like jump in, come work out. And they're like, really? Okay. So just giving it away has been fun. And, boxing, jiu-jitsu, group fitness classes outdoors. Like you said, the gym stuff's different. I think it's been a blessing, really. People got to get creative. I've had to get creative. I had to go out in the alley and just do push-ups and burpees. And, it makes you lean. I think in these times makes you lean more on your community, more on some fellowship. Like, hey, I'm not just going to go to the gym alone and put my headphones on and be a weirdo, like chasing these pecs. It's like, I got to move to stay sane. And keep my pain threshold high, because if I get too comfortable, stuff starts to hurt, So it's been fun moving with that, figuring that out, and bringing other people along for the ride.
So one of the things I always like to do when I end this show is give you an opportunity. Is there anything that you'd like to share to those that are maybe suffering out there, or people that are sober and clean and sober, and how they can ultimately move forward?
Oh man, I guess there's two groups of people, man. There's the ones that think maybe, there might be something better. It might not be that bad yet, or you might be kind of coping. And to those people, I'd just like to say that, full potential, maximum effectiveness in your family, for yourself and your community and your spiritual connection is waiting for you. And that there's a very simple set of practices that you can put into place, that you can apply to your life, a very, very simple recipe to be free from resentment, to be free from fear, self, insecurity, worry, doubt, old news. And it's really going to facilitate some awesome movement in your life as far as leveling up goes, and embracing more, and then there's the people who are really broken, who don't think there's any hope, and who just are trapped. And I feel like those are really more my folks. That's more where I have to be until I'm ready. And to those people, we got to change everything. And I would suggest finding somebody like myself, or somebody that you resonate with, who speaks and carries themselves in a way that looks appetizing to you and looks maybe impossible to you, and do anything and everything they say, and do nothing that you think, and just follow their script and see what happens. We have new principles and new processes that we live by, that we apply all of our problems to. It's one thing to talk about, ascension and freedom and principles and guidelines and a process for success. It's one thing to talk about it, but practical application on a moment-to-moment basis for any and everything that you do is a totally different story. And that's a living organism that has to be supplanted with your previous process. And once that takes anchor in you, it's just like opening a brand new pair of eyes and seeing life from a whole new perspective. And I wish that and hope that for everybody, regardless if you're dealing with drugs or bereavement, grief and loss, gambling, sex, food. It doesn't have to rule you anymore. And you just jump in with somebody like myself or with Eric and let us give it to you, because we're dying to give it away.
Absolutely. I always tell everybody that they can always contact me at recoveryecosystem@gmail.com, and I'll help out people in any way I can.
Yep. I'm Jeremy Jackson Fitness at on Instagram. I'm very active on there. So come and say hey.
Well, Jeremy, I want to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Here. And I want to thank everybody tuning in for another episode of High While Clean. Keep getting high. Do it while clean.
That's right.
Darkness, we find the light.